Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, I am taking complete inspiration from this stencil today. This is the Visible Image Squared stencil. Now, you don't need this stencil at all to create the cards I am doing today, but this just gave me full inspiration, and that's what I think when we look at our stencils, you can look at them and think, actually, could this be a complete card front? Could I make this a complete finished situation going on? So when I look at it, I do see more squares than I need, so I am going to block some out, but I love the look of this on a card front. So I'm going to go direct to card base. I'm going to take some mint tape, and just because I want that really square, I want to mask off some of the squares, I'm going to cut the mint tape with my scissors so I can get that nice edge and just block off some of the squares that I don't need. Basically, they're the ones that are going to go outside of, too far to the left, too far to the right. By all means, you absolutely could include these, and you can look at this. I mean, if you have a stencil that has bigger openings, I think, bigger circles, bigger rainbow ones, bigger balloons, it could be anything. It could be any shape. This one just happens to be a square, and so this is what we are going to work with. I'm going to show you two finished cards today, and these are both quick cards with a little bit of stamping and a little bit of inking, and basically, we are just using the stencil and using it as a completed front, and it really is sort of the base of everything. Now, by all means, you could create this without any stencil. You could even die cut out a couple of squares and use the cardstock that's left over, so use the negative part, and that would become your stencil yourself, and just create something similar to this. That would work well too. Now, I'm coming in with a couple of distressed oxide colors. I'm coming in light for the first card. The second card, we're going to go in the opposite direction, but the first one, we're just coming in light with basically a red, orange, yellow little ink blending here. Now, I am using my little finger daubers, which don't always give the best coverage over bigger areas, and you can see that this blending is far from perfect, but that is a reminder that actually these are backgrounds and they really are going to fall into the background. I'm going to show you a few tricks just with a black fine liner pen. So I've got this one out. I'm going to go around while the stencil's there, the three largest ones, and then when we lift this off, we're off to a pretty good start, and then I am going to actually draw a line just using a T-ruler, but any ruler, any straight edge is good. A black fine liner is a great tool to have in your stash as a card maker, not only for adding in these extra details, but also if your stamping doesn't quite go perfectly, a black fine liner to fill in a couple of little mistakes is also going to be gold. Now, here is where I'm just going to basically go for gold. I am going to end up creating a border, just these little black and white blocks. Now, I shifted over to this brush pen. This is a great brush pen. It was around maybe $2, I want to say maybe $2.50 US dollars. Over at scrapbook.com, they have a white version of it as well. I love this pen. This is what I go around all the edges of my fussy cutting with, because the brush sort of just melts into the edges of my fussy cutting. It's making a quick job of this. I really just have to kind of go along, and it's really easy. So I will link this pen down below. This, for me, at the couple of dollars that it was, is a great investment. And I am just going around the whole entire edge. And then at this point, I was all in. And as I said, I was using the stencil as my sort of, starting point. But actually, I decided that I would carry on with my pattern, and I'm going to do the same for each one of these little squares. Now, this does end up being quite bold, I will admit. And it probably, well, actually, I will tell you, it was not where I was planning on going to begin with. But I do like it, and I think it's different, a little different than some of my other cards. It's definitely, the border is bold, but we created it ourselves with just a brush pen and a ruler and a fine liner marker. And so that's pretty good. These are things that I already have on hand. You can customize this. If you've got a circle, do a circle. If you've got an oval, you can do an oval. If you've got a star, you can do a star, a moon. You can do any shape, and you can use this pattern design on the edge. And it is beautiful and bold. And sometimes A bold border is all that your card needs to really finish it off. I'm not saying go around all the inside pieces like I am necessarily. That is extra. But I do think this makes a simple, gorgeous border. Now, once I've gone around all 3 of these, I am going to find something to stamp on the inside of these little boxes. Now, the world is beyond your oyster when it comes to what can I stamp inside here. You could do 3 little sentiments. You could do 3 smaller images. You could mask off and do 3 partial images. I mean, even just some gorgeous foliage coming into each of these. Gorgeous. And here's what you can do. You can just mask it off with the mint tape if you want to make sure it doesn't go over the edges. I have this Love and Hugs stamp set here from Gina K. I think this was the incentive stamp set that came with my order, and so I'm not sure that this one is available, but you know, as I said, anything is going to go in here, and all I'm doing is just going to mask off a certain little one of those vases and put one in each one. There's no rhyme, there's no reason. You don't have to fill the whole square. I like leaving a little bit of empty space sometimes can be fun. I'm going to mask off 3 of these different, there is actually 5 here that are beautiful. These make a beautiful card by themselves, sitting on a little bench or a little piece of patterned paper. They look stunning, but actually, I mean, I could have cut the stamp set apart because all 5 of them are one stamp, but actually for this one, masking off was just fine. And there is also, I think, 6 or 7 gorgeous little sentiments that come in this stamp set as well. But here the sentiments are, and I'm going to choose one. This one I am going to cut so that I can stack it. And this says, sending you love and hugs. And I quite like that. The card is sort of bold, but not necessarily bright and in your face. So I thought this was a nice little sentiment to pop on there. And just, it could either pop it down the bottom or on the left-hand side in between would have been really nice. But down the bottom where there's nothing covering it up, I think that looks good. Right, let's move on to the second one. Again, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So I will speed through this, at a relatively good pace. But this time we're going to go much heavier on the inking. Last time I went smooth, and actually you can see that the ink on the left-hand one, it's smoothed out pretty well. It's sort of, it doesn't look as bad. My blending doesn't look as bad, or maybe it just sinks into the background because there's a lot more to focus on. So if you think that your blending is not perfect, or, it's not what you want it to be, actually, it probably isn't as bad as what you have in your mind, because we are our harshest critics. And when we look at something, we see the mistakes, we see the things that we didn't plan, or could have gone better, or could have gone differently. But actually, I bet you that whoever receives your card actually just loves it for what it is. And I think that I have to remind myself of that actually, my blending might not have been perfect, but I like the end card, and we carry on and we keep going even though it might not be perfect in our eyes. This time I just did the 2 colours, the Candied Apple and the Spiced Marmalade, so basically the red and the orange, and I've gone a lot heavier on this one. And I decided to do that because I'm going to do some silhouette stamping. Now this is the Life is Sweet by Gina K Designs. I'm going to pick just a couple of these little berry images. I figured with being such bold images, I either needed to do some bold stamping, or I needed to have like die cuts that came in and took over that bold stamping. Now, I will say that I'm going to add something to these, so they are quite dark at the moment. These ones are the start of some little strawberries. I put a couple of berries, and then they have this little topper piece that goes on the top, and it does look quite dark at the moment, but I promise you, we're going to take to it with a white gel pen very soon. This one, I'm going to add in a couple of little cherries, and I'm just going to have a couple of them in each one, and then the bottom image, I'm just going to have a strawberry and a cherry. So basically, have a look through your stash, see what you've got. If you've only got die cuts, that will work. If you've got washi stickers and you think you don't want the colour to shine through, then stick them down onto some white cardstock and fussy cut them out. If you do want the background to shine through, then brilliant. If you need to cut them down, You can put them onto a piece of release paper that you've saved and cut them down so that you can, because they'll be sticky, and then take them off once you've cut them and they will fit perfectly. There are lots of different things that you could fill in these little squares with. Even a gorgeous sentiment, a little happy, bright sentiment in each one would be stunning. You could just do another stencil over top. So leave the original stencil down and then do more stenciling over top with some white, like Unicorn, the Hero Arts white pigment ink. That would look beautiful too. So lots of really good options. Basically, my idea with this video and following the stencils is that we can take these ideas, these stencils, and run with them and springboard lots of great ideas from them. So I have added a couple of little hearts. I've added a couple of sentiments. Now I'm really going to take to these with the white gel pen and just lighten it up just a fraction. Even those little highlight lines and things like that, sketching around, doing some sketchy lines, just, brings in a little bit of detail to a pretty dark silhouette image. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you look at your stash, go through, have a look at your stencils. If it's not your stencils, then have a look at your dies and see if you can create your own stencils. These don't have to be ones that you keep forever. If you use, wet media or sprays on them, they might not last forever, but that's okay too. It's all about experimenting, using what we have in our stash, finding ways to extend the use of the supplies that we choose to invest in. All good things and all things that I love doing on this channel, and it's really important to me. It's another factor as to why I also created my website, www.natashafooteCreative.com, is I wanted to find another outlet where I would go into detail a little bit more about some things, but there are also a whole lot more videos over there that will, and they're still going on. I also have launched some brand new always handy card layouts, and it shows you a basic layout design. It gives you the PDF that you can download, but actually with every single layout that is on that PDF, I have created a video, and it goes through, between 3 and 6 cards that you can create and how you can use that layout and just basically take it further. So lots of good ideas. My website is a place where I can go into more detail about these things and create more videos, but this one here is along those lines. And of course, YouTube is a great place for information. There are lots of fantastic card makers out there as well, and lots of good ideas. So I couldn't stop with the white gel pen at this point, and I just kept going. Little details are often, can really make a card. And sometimes, even though, those stripes, those boxes around there are not perfect, I think they still add that little finishing detail. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Let me know what you thought of this one in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.